Welcome back to CTV News Channel. I'm Akshay Tandon. We begin with the aftermath of Federal Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu ordering Air Canada flight attendants back to work after thousands walked off the job earlier today. Using Section 107 of the Canadian Labour Code, Ottawa has now ordered the Canada Industrial Relations Board to arbitrate the labour dispute. Under Hajdu's order, the existing collective agreement between Air Canada and flight attendants, represented by the Canadian Union of Public Employees, will now be extended until a new agreement is reached. The union releasing a statement following Ottawa's announcement, saying in part, Ottawa is violating workers' charter rights and is giving Air Canada exactly what it wants. And CTV News reached out to Air Canada for reaction to the federal government's intervention. The airline says, quote, at this point, it is premature to comment as the Canada Industrial Relations Board process is underway. Therefore, it is also premature to comment about restarting the airline. And so we still ask customers not to go to the airport unless they have a confirmed booking and their flight is shown as operating. Now, the Conservatives, the Shadow Labour Minister, is also weighing in on the federal government's decision to send Air Canada's flight attendants back to work without a new contract. Earlier today, Kyle Seaback released a statement accusing the Prime Minister of not being a friend to workers or Labour, saying the move favours Air Canada instead of flight attendants. The Conservatives are calling on Liberals to pass the Flight Attendants Fairness Act, which was introduced last June. They say the act ensures workers are paid for the work they do before, during and after a flight. However, many of Air Canada's flight attendants are still rallying at Toronto's Pearson Airport, and that's where we find CB24's Melissa Duggan with the latest. Melissa, great to see you. First, let's just talk about the federal government intervention this afternoon to resolve this dispute. Talk to us about how the government came to this decision.
Yeah, yesterday afternoon, it seemed like this wasn't going to be the case. We know that Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu had given CUPE, the portion of the union that represents some 10,000 flight attendants, until noon yesterday to respond to Air Canada's request for binding arbitration, something that the union rejected. She was then encouraging both sides to keep the talks going, and then flash forward, less than 12 hours after the strike action, after the lockout grounded all Air Canada flights, all Air Canada Rouge flights. We heard from the federal government, the minister stepping forward, ordering this binding arbitration and the return to work. Some of the things she's pointing to is that this has led to a serious disruption for Canadian travelers, leaving thousands of Canadians stranded abroad, also disrupting cargo, disrupting pharmaceutical deliveries, and also pointing to just kind of the economic worries that Canadians may have had during this kind of uncertain time. This just adding to that burden, and that's why she wants to see back to work happening for these workers that we see behind me here, and also just this regular travel service also resuming at this point, with negotiations still underway with those two sides. I do want to share more of, though, what she had to say out of Ottawa this afternoon. Have a listen.
As Minister of Labour, I have exercised my authorities under Section 107 of the Canadian Labour Code to direct the Canada Industrial Relations Board to order the parties to resume and continue their operations and duties in order to secure industrial peace and protect the interests of Canada, Canadians, and the economy. I've also asked the board to assist the parties in reaching a settlement of the outstanding terms of their collective agreement by imposing final and binding arbitration, and to extend the terms of the existing collective agreement until a new one is determined by the arbitrator.
She also adds that both sides have been at it, for these talks for months now. She says arbitration is the most stable way to bring a resolution to this process.
Right, Melissa. Meantime, there is, of course, a bit of anger. We can see protests still continuing, strikes still continuing. What has been the reaction at the airport from the airlines as well as the employees with this intervention?
Yeah, so the message from the picketers behind me here, and by the way, there have been similar picket lines at major airports throughout the country as well. They were originally directing their message at Air Canada. That has since changed. We're hearing a lot of it directed at the federal government, at Patty Hajdu, her name being included in some of their chants as well. So anger kind of being redirected as the day goes on here. They don't want to see this binding arbitration. They don't want to see this return to work. They want to see a contract that they would support, one that would give them the wages that they're looking for, one that would give them paid work during times where they're not being paid at the moment, those times before a flight takes off and after. As for the message from Air Canada right now, they're saying that it's too early to talk about when exactly Canadians could expect a regular service to resume. Minister Hajdu saying that it could be 5 to 10 days until that happens, saying this is obviously a very complex industry, a lot of parts and pieces to get together before we could see that service pick up. So what we're also experiencing are still these lingering questions from travelers, right? Wondering when they could be seeing their flights resume, when they could expect to come home if they happen to be trapped somewhere else in the world at the moment right now. So Air Canada expecting to get more messaging out to those travelers. And, I was just inside Pearson Airport. There are some Air Canada workers there at desks handing out pamphlets, talking to people. So, obviously a lot of people want to know when exactly they could resume their planned travel or maybe get a flight that's been canceled already. Back to you.
Melissa Duggan at the Toronto Pearson International Airport in Toronto with all the chaos playing out with Air Canada. Melissa, thank you for this update.